I am Alice Absolutely. I'm an artist who works predominantly with artificial intelligence artwork. I know that's kind of a taboo subject in the art world right now. I feel like what I do with artificial intelligence artwork is really different than what most people's perception of artificial intelligence work is. I am a Central Florida native, and I spent 16 years in education as an English teacher. I taught language and rhetoric to students that were in a pre-collegiate program, and we spent a lot of time on political rhetoric and propaganda. And really, when I was teaching English, I was spending a lot of time teaching marketing. Personally, I'm passionate about disruptive technology. I think disruptive technology pushes our society forward and pushes humanity to learn and struggle with ethical considerations, moral constraints, and how we're going to grow and develop as a community. So, this political rhetoric kind of morphed into marketing, which somehow became art and digital design for me. And I started working with students who struggled with writing, but were really good with their hands. Maybe they were really good artists. Maybe they were great at sketching and drawing, or maybe they were just really fantastic at expressing their ideas through collage work. And we were planning our writing through what they were able to visually create. And it opened up a lot of doors for the students who were struggling to do well in a high school English class. And in order to show and express that to my students, I had to do it myself. And I found out that I really loved it. And I really loved the marketing aspect of storytelling. And all of that just kind of became this passion for digital technologies and disruptive technologies about 18 months ago when it became, OpenAI and it was available for download on your phone. It just seemed like a really fantastic opportunity for me to create in a way that I had not thought about creating before, because the conversation with the generative AI and the technology opens artistic doors for me and thematic doors for me that I felt limited by, because I'm really great with digital technology, but I'm not a fantastic, like, technical artist. I can't draw, but I can paint. I am really good at framing subjects and posing subjects for photographs. But if I start from scratch digitally, it just kind of seems like a confusing mess and I don't really know where to start. So one of the things I think that is really cool from, my standpoint and my background is that generative AI as a whole opened up like this entire new avenue for people to create and tell stories, which to me is so much a part of what art is supposed to be for society. What I do is really different. I start with original photography. I am an award-winning photographer as well. And after I do digital manipulation of that digital composition, which is an entire and complete, composition in and of itself, that's when I pull artificial intelligence in to prompt and manipulate that image further. Um, and then even when I get that image out of artificial intelligence, I'm doing quite a bit of digital manipulation of that image to further push and highlight and emphasize aspects of the composition. And then every single piece of my work is printed. They're all originals. I don't do any reprints of artificial work. They're all gold leafed by hand. So when you are getting a piece of artificial intelligence artwork from me, it's really a digital mixed media piece that is a work of fine art that transcends what most people conceptualize as artificial intelligence artwork or even really digital artwork, my work's not available for sale as an NFT or anything like that. I won't take your Bitcoins or your Ethereum to sell my work. You're buying a legitimate archival piece of fine art. Some of the challenges I face as an artist is really a lack of patience. I'm very slow at painting work and creating things digitally from scratch. Drawing takes me a really long time before I'm happy with it and I feel like I have a complete composition. So photography for me was this really cool, almost artistic vacation because it was instant gratification. I could go out and take 100 shots or 500 shots and come back into the studio and survey those compositions and start grabbing what was a really great composition. And within, not counting shooting time, just time editing in the studio, I could walk away with a really great composition that I was really proud of in 3 or 4 hours, where if I started painting something, I was at it for weeks and it was painful. I did a portrait of Chanel Miller. She was the Emily Doe in the Stanford rape case. It was part of a strong women and their identity exhibition. So it was a thematic exhibition that I had been invited to participate in. And I started this piece on Chanel Miller really, really early in the process because I knew it was going to take me a while. And I picked this huge canvas. This portrait of Chanel is 4 feet by 6 feet. And I sat with her on my easel for nearly 12 weeks. And it was a really big emotional journey because when you're painting somebody's face and you're trying to get, all of their lines and their wrinkles and the soul of their eyes right, you you have to think about who they are as a person. You have to think about what they've been through and how they've struggled. And I stepped back from that experience thinking, I learned so much and I never want to do it again because it almost became who I was entirely. It became my identity as well in a way that I had a hard time separating emotionally from. I really felt like by the time I finished that portrait, I needed to sit in therapy for several weeks. Part of the instant gratification of the photography and then into the artificial intelligence artwork is I can see progress and I can have an emotional reaction to a piece. I can be incredibly inspired by something, but I can finish the entire composition in a week and I can walk away from it and I can experience something new in a way that painting didn't allow me to move and grow. So that was a really cool evolutionary point for my artistic journey with the artificial intelligence work. And when I look at that journey and I look at where I'm going next for the artificial intelligence, I really want to push that medium to do larger scale works and also do works that embrace an entire series of information. Right now I'm working on a book. The title of the book is War is Hell, because when I started working with artificial intelligence, I pretty quickly stumbled on the fact that it didn't matter what image I gave the software platform. If I entered in a location for the text prompt, like Dresden, if I gave the AI an image and prompted it for Dresden, time after time after time, every generation I got was bombed out buildings. So I was like, okay, that's weird. Dresden, the Dresden bombing happened quite some time ago. And I feel like the city of Dresden has been photographed and painted several times since then. That's, like why that data set keeps rising to the top. So I tried the same thing with Afghanistan, with Vietnam. I started looking at things that predated photography. So battles from the American Revolution. So I think that's a really interesting fact of our digital lives and our digital footprint. And that's the focus of that book. And I'm really excited to see that book launch next year. So I think that's really my next step in my journey, is continuing to work on that collection and do the writings for that and the research for that, because I am not a historian by trade. I was an English major in college. So I've got quite a bit of history to dig into and understand, so I can understand the conflict and the timeline and things that contributed to those, to really put forth a book that is worth putting on your coffee table. 40 years ago, 50 years ago, people interacted with music and musicians on a very personal level. You went to the local state fair and you were able to see your favorite bands, and you in all likelihood were able to meet the artist and get an autograph. And they were not necessarily hyper local, but they had, musicians had a very clear understanding of the places where they were popular, and the local color in the regions and the stories that they were performing about. As our world gets bigger, things get much smaller, ironically enough. And as the music industry globalizes, it's much harder to have that kind of intimate contact with musicians and with music. And I think that's a really cool story I want to tell with photography. So I have been spending time the last, I'd say, 4 or 5 weeks traveling to different local venues inside the state of Florida and photographing musicians setting up, purely local bands, nobody that has a record deal or anything like that. People that are telling the stories of their communities, trying to capture some of those people practicing music in the Riverwalk boardwalk down in Punta Gorda, or practicing in their garages or their community centers. I think it's a very interesting visual story that we sometimes lose touch of, because we have that Rolling Stone magazine that encapsulates popular culture. And I think we're losing something there. There's more stories to be told. I think the reception of artificial intelligence artwork has been a mixed bag. I know that there are communities online that are very open to it and very receptive to what I'm doing. There are similar communities online that, trash and bash all day long. So I know where my fans are, I know where my friends are. A completely sold out exhibition with the Bower Gallery in Lakeland. It was a 2-night exhibition. I sold everything the first night and had to bring back new work for the second night. That was a complete and total, everybody, every piece sold. It was fantastic. Very supportive there. Art Crawl in Lakeland, Florida actually went out of their way to invite me into their space and another AI artist into their space, because it was this new disruptive technology. And that's the whole focus of that show, is promoting emerging artists and emerging art forms. So that was very supportive. And there's a gallery down in Sebring, the Highlands Art League. They were very excited to host some artificial pieces from my collection and allowed me to record some videos about the work, so that as people were passing through the gallery, they kind of got to get a tour with the artist, if you will, and talk to me through the camera about the artwork and how it was created. When I started really buckling down and trying to be a professional artist, I I thought the way to go about that was to dig into all of the local themed exhibitions. And it took about 3 years for me to realize I was making a lot of artwork to put on someone's gallery wall that I didn't really care about and didn't really mean anything to me. So I didn't know how to tell the story behind that work, and I didn't know how to make that work connect with people who were interested in me as an artist. So I struggled for a number of years with feeling unsuccessful, because I was always trying to make the next piece for the next theme show. And I think I lost a couple of years of artistic growth doing that because I wasn't experimenting. I wasn't trying new things. I wasn't trying to tell my story through my artwork. I was just trying to pay my entry fee and get into the gallery without realizing that people didn't have any way of connecting with me or with my artwork in that way. My entire portfolio of work is available on my website, which is aliceabsolutelystudios.com. All of my social handles on Instagram and Facebook are Alice Absolutely.